Today's episode is brought to you by DAX Copilot from Microsoft. DAX Copilot is your AI assistant, like a little Jonathan in your pocket, for automating clinical documentation and workflows that help you be more efficient and reduce the administrative burden that leads to feeling overwhelmed and just burned out, right? Learn more about how DAX Copilot can help improve healthcare experiences for both you and your patients by visiting aka.ms/knock-knock-hi. Again, that's aka.ms/knock-knock-hi.
Knock, knock, hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Knock Knock Eye with me, Dr. Glaucom Flecken. Thanks for joining me. This is one of my favorite times of the week, getting to just talk eyeballs with all of you. And today has been an interesting day so far. Again, this is my surgery day. It's usually when I record these episodes. And had a good morning. Everything went smoothly. And I want to say how much I love the way we do cataract surgery. So it's a bit unique with cataracts. I mean, there's other specialties that do surgery this way, but one of the more unique things about eye surgery, most types of eye surgery, is that you can do it when the patient is awake. So we give the patient, a little bit of Versed, a little bit of fentanyl, just to help them feel relaxed. And then they don't have any discomfort, any pain. It's a painless surgery, and it releases a little bit of the inhibitions that people have when they get a little bit of Versed on board. And it's just a whiff. It's like 1 milligram. It's a small amount, but it's enough to make people say and do some funny things sometimes. So I'll tell you a story. So from today, but generally everything goes fine. It's sometimes people really start freaking out during cataract surgery. We have to give them a lot more sedation, or sometimes even cancel the surgery if we can't get someone calm, because you have to be still. As you can imagine, any kind of movement in your body is going to move your eye, it's going to move your head. And it's when I'm looking through at the eye through a microscope, any kind of movement, it looks like an earthquake under the microscope. So it's very hard to do cataract surgery when someone's moving and can't sit still. The medications that our wonderful CRNAs provide are very helpful for that. And then it makes people a little bit loopy. It's like they've had a couple of glasses of wine. And so today, I had some people are really quiet during surgery, even though even with the sedation. Some people just fall asleep. We actually prefer that they don't fall asleep. And some people get very talkative. Oh, they got a lot of things to say, just about their day, about what they're going to do afterwards, how excited they are about their vision, a trip they went on. Some of them are listening to some of the conversation happening in the room, which is a lesson to anybody coming into a cataract surgery room. Like, the patient can hear you. Like, they are awake. All right. They may have a couple glasses of wine on board, but they will hear you. And so sometimes they'll just out of the blue just pipe in with some comment about something we're talking about. So this patient today, very talkative, just right off the bat. And I think part of it was she was very nervous for surgery. Some people, when they get nervous, they get really talkative. And so I was in a good mood. Surgery was very routine. So I was chatting with her, because I think it does help for people who are very nervous. Whenever I just sit there, I'm doing their surgery and I'm talking, I'm just having a conversation with them. I'm distracting them basically from the surgery the eye surgery that's making them so nervous. And then out of the blue, this woman proposed to me. Now, people have told me jokes in the middle of surgery. Some of them inappropriate, some of them appropriate. I never hold anything against anybody whenever what they're saying under minimal sedation, because it's releasing your inhibitions. This was the first time I have received a marriage proposal. Wonderful 60 70-year-old woman. I was like, you know what? I really appreciate it. But I am taken. I am happily married. And so I finished the cataract surgery. And I guarantee you, when she comes back for her post-op later this afternoon, she will not remember any of that. She may be like, did I say anything? And I'll be like, nothing important. So it's always a fun thing. Oh man, the adventures you get into when you do cataract surgery on awake patients. And I had my mentor and residency program director, Dr. Tom Oding, on the podcast probably about a year ago. He told a story which I had heard before, but we have a thing in ophthalmology that's called malignant glaucoma. That's one term for it. Uh, Aqueous misdirection is another term. So there's a couple different ways to say it, but basically it's something that can happen during surgery where the flow of fluid, because we're constantly we're using fluid to inflate the eye. And so there's always fluid being put into the eye and being removed from the eye during cataract surgery. It's called irrigation aspiration. Well, sometimes that fluid can start heading the wrong direction. It can actually get around the lens and start hydrating the back part of the eye. And you don't want that to happen, because what can happen is that fluid that's accumulating in the back of the eye, it'll just start pushing everything forward and decreasing the amount of space that you have to operate on someone's cataract. It's called aqueous misdirection. Malignant glaucoma is a less descriptive term. It's like kind of just a term that's been around for decades and it really is not, we don't really say that much anymore, but it is something that I have heard many times. And it was during a surgery that Dr. Oding, they were trying to figure out why there was so much what we call posterior pressure during a cataract surgery. And at one point, Dr. Oding was like, you just talking back and forth to the resident that was operating with him. It could be malignant glaucoma. Surgery went great. They finished everything. And then it was like 2 weeks later, that patient came back and was very concerned. And he said to Tom Oding, he was like, doctor, when are you going to tell me about my malignancy? So poor guy, for 2 weeks, he heard the term because he was awake. He heard the term malignant glaucoma and he just assumed he had some kind of horrible cancer of the eye. Man, so that's a learning lesson right there. Just the patient is awake. And then there's some surgeons, some ophthalmologists who will have strict orders, like nobody talks in the room. And I'm not like that. I run a pretty relaxed operating room. I think, people know not to, just to be a little bit more careful with what they say. There's not like a ton of conversation happening in the room because you don't want that. But, there's, talking from time to time and just, pleasantries and what are people going to do over the weekend or the holidays or whatever. And that's fine. So, but as a patient, here's something important. As a patient, you can always request that you don't want your surgeon to talk to you. In fact, most of the time we take our cues from the patient. And I've had patients tell me, can it just be quiet? I don't like it. Stresses me out when there's conversation. And that's great. That's fine. We'll shut the hell up and we'll just continue on. Trust me, I'm totally fine with that. That it makes for an interesting surgery day. So anyway, that was everything else went fine though. It was good, and we got a good show, a good knock eye for you today. I got some good questions from last week's episode where he talked about Ortho-K. This is the most recent one that was published. I record these like a day before the next one publishes. So I'm like a week behind by the time you hear this on like monitoring all the questions on the YouTube channel. At Glock'em that's where you'll find all these episodes, all the comment section. I got some good comments, some good topics we're going to talk about. So I'm going to address some of the comments about Ortho-K and a couple other things. Also, we're going to talk about eyeballs in space. This is a good question came in. What happens to eyes in space? So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. and also ocular rosacea, because there's a thing, a couple of patients I've had recently with something called ocular rosacea, which is something that is pretty common, and maybe some of you listening have had that before. So let's take a quick break. We'll come right back with some questions. Hey, Kristen.
Yeah,
I've got some friends I'd like you to meet.
I see that. You seem a little too friendly with them, I have to say.
Aren't they cute?
Sure.
With the little beady eyes
Uh-huh.
and their little hands. Are they hands? The claws?
I don't know.
Appendages.
Okay.
How about that?
That works.
But anyway, they'd like to say hi.
Okay.
They'd like to say hi.
Okay. Wonderful.
Oh, look, the one's sticking around.
It sure is.
All right.
On my mic.
These little guys are Demodex, and they live on your eyelashes.
Yeah.
And they can cause flaky, red, irritated eyelids.
See, that's not cool.
You just kind of want to like rub them.
Mm-hmm. You're not welcome here if you're going to do that.
And it's caused sometimes by these little guys.
Yep, that's rude.
Demodex blepharitis. But you shouldn't get grossed out by this.
Okay.
All right, you got to get checked out.
Yes, get checked out.
To find out more, go to eyelidcheck.com. Again, that's EYELID check.com for more information about these little guys and Demodex blepharitis. All right, here we go. Some good comments coming in. Here's one. At Tank Guy 3 said, could Ortho-K theoretically be a treatment for keratoconus? I don't think I addressed this. So Ortho-K, just as a quick recap, is a contact lens treatment of mild to moderate myopia. So you put a contact lens on the eye when you go to sleep. It like reshapes your cornea, and it can kind of take out some of your nearsightedness. It flattens the cornea to take away your myopia a little bit. But you have to keep wearing it. You know, it's expensive, and also it does carry some risk of infection and corneal abrasion and other things. And so this person asked, could Ortho-K theoretically be a treatment for keratoconus? And I say no, it's not. And the reason for that is because keratoconus, you're already, when you have keratoconus, it's a weakening of your cornea. And it also results in irregular astigmatism. So typically, you know, orthokeratology, it can treat myopia. It can treat some astigmatism as well, because you're reshaping the cornea. But when you have irregular astigmatism, it's a little bit harder to do that. Plus, an eye that has keratoconus is already at risk of corneal scarring, of having breaks in some of the structures within the cornea that cause what do we call corneal hydrops, which is a severe sudden swelling of the cornea. So you really don't want to cause a lot of trauma to an eye that has keratoconus, which is just it's a corneal ectasia. The cornea is not healthy. It's weak in certain places, mostly inferiorly on the cornea. And so you don't want to go mucking around putting contact lenses that try to reshape the cornea, a lot of trauma, fingers in and out of the eye. It's always a little bit dangerous, even when people with keratoconus play sports, because any kind of trauma to the eye could very easily cause a rupture of the cornea. And so, no, I would say, you don't want to do orthokeratology. The only type of contact lenses that are reasonable in people with keratoconus would be what's called a scleral contact lens. This is a specialty contact lens that actually, it's bigger, much bigger, because the point of contact on the eye is the white part of the eye. So what that contact lens does is it vaults completely over the cornea. So it's a big, big contact. Not everybody can tolerate these, but it vaults itself over the cornea. It's not really supposed to touch the cornea, and it neutralizes irregular astigmatism, which can include keratoconus. So that is an option, and you have to go to a specialty. Usually it's an optometrist that does this type of work. And it can do amazing things for people, really change people's lives, scleral contact lenses. But that's the only type of lens that I think is safe for someone with keratoconus. Good question. All right, this is another comment and about Ortho-K that kind of made me laugh here. I don't know if it was intending to make me laugh, but it did. So it's a long comment. I'm just going to pick and choose certain parts of it. This is from @JohnC4403. Said Ortho-K sounded really tempting until you said the price. Okay, yep. It's like 1,000, maybe $1,500 for a set of the Ortho-K lenses, and often insurance doesn't cover that kind of thing. It's considered a cosmetic. But at those, he says, at those prices, he goes on to talk about his history with myopia. At those prices, I'll just keep sleeping in my regular contacts. Yep, you heard me, doc. You're not going to scare me out of it. I've been sleeping in my contacts for about 40 years now, and I'm not going to stop. I figure if I didn't hurt my eyes wearing contacts for a month at a time back when they were approved for that, marketing ploy, they were never supposed to be approved for that, I'm not likely to hurt them just wearing contacts for less than a week. And yes, those horrible daily thin disposables are right out. I can't wear them. I appreciate the honesty, John. I really do. But this reads very much like, I've been driving for 10 years without wearing a seatbelt. I'm not going to stop now. It's probably safe. Like that. That's the thinking here. It's like, I don't know, there's probably some kind of fallacy name for this. But just because nothing's happened to you, which I'm so thankful that you've been able to sleep in your contacts for like however many years and you haven't had any issues. But I mean, it only takes one, and we know that increases your risk of infection. So, John, you do you. All right. If you come in to see me, though, I'm still going to read you the riot act and tell you that you shouldn't be doing it. But medical advice is just advice, and you don't have to take it. So, but I appreciate your honesty. Just because you haven't had anything bad happen to your eyes, doing something a little bit foolish doesn't mean it's never going to happen. But, you do what you got to do. Glasses are also a wonderful thing, but not for everybody. Sometimes contacts, really high myopia. In fact, in this comment, I think John says he's, only a -3. Yeah, you could do glasses, John. You really could. Like, glasses are fashionable now. You guys know that? They're in. Glasses are in. You got some very, very nice glasses. Everybody's wearing glasses these days. You got some great frames. Plus, also, I don't know how old you are, any of you are, but glasses, they can hide your wrinkles, your eye wrinkles a little bit. I could probably benefit from, one of these days, I'm just going to show up. For those of you who watch the podcast on YouTube, I'm going to show up wearing glasses. And you'll know if I do that, it's probably just because I'm getting way too many wrinkles. There's no beauty filter on YouTube. I can't hide those any other way. So anyway, all right. A couple other fun comments I had about the most recent episode that was put out there. We talked about, I forgot what we were talking about or why we were talking about this, but talking about placenta, donating your placenta for, anyway, just how that works. So, that's right. For amniotic membranes. That's what it was. We were talking about amniotic membranes and how that tissue is procured, and whether or not patients are paid for their placenta. So this is from @Amanda A2244 said they take the entire placenta when you donate it. It's literally plopped into a 5-gallon bucket. The patients I've had that have donated their placentas were not compensated. It was considered a donation. So there you go. You're not going to get paid for your placenta. It's not a gold mine sitting there in your uterus, but it is a very wonderful thing to do, because at least in ophthalmology, that amniotic tissue, it helps treat a lot of things: severe dry eye, neurotrophic keratopathy. You can help give the gift of sight, honestly, just by donating your placenta. Let's see, a couple other questions here before we take a break. And then when we come back, we'll talk. Actually, no, we'll do this now. Let's do this now. So the question from @SaveThePeaceNow, my eyeball question: how does going to space affect the eyeballs? Do the massive G's to get there hurt your eyes? Does being weightless do anything? the longer you are there, will that cause long-term issues? This is a fantastic question. And there's actually been a lot of research into what happens to the eyes over time in a weightless environment. So talking about the G forces to get to space, I don't think that causes any trauma. Now, if you have enough G forces that are probably more like lethal G forces, it can cause severe trauma to the eyes. And what I'm thinking of is a disease called either traumatic optic neuropathy or something called scleropateria, which is basically severe tearing of the retina and choroid, very delicate structures that can occur when a bullet or other projectile passes very close by to the retina. And so it's like a shockwave effect. Maybe that something like that can happen if you pull enough G's, but you don't hear about that with like fighter pilots. And if that's the case, you're not going to hear about it on going up to space either. So I don't think that's what happens, but there is some very severe trauma that can happen to the optic nerve, to the retina, just with like a shockwave effect from something going very fast, very close to those structures. But as far as in space, weightlessness, yes, we actually do know a lot. NASA has done a lot of work in looking at what can happen. In fact, there's a condition that's actually known as spaceflight associated neuroocular syndrome. And this, I think it's a relatively new condition, at least the name of the condition, but it refers to a visual impairment and intracranial pressure that can occur from spending a long period of time in space. Some people call it, which is a much cooler term, space blindness. We have snow blindness. Why not space blindness? I love it. So this condition occurs because you have changes in the cerebrospinal fluid of the brain and the spine as you get into a microgravity or a vacuum of space where the fluid that's normally circulating through your entire cerebrospinal tract kind of just starts moving up toward the head. You don't have gravity pulling everything down. And so what can happen is you can start to get swelling over time of the optic nerves. Because when we often, in fact, today or yesterday, I had a patient that was referred to me just to be evaluated. They were having headaches. They wanted me to evaluate for the presence of optic disc edema, which can indicate increased intracranial pressure, called papilledema. Papilledema is when you have swollen optic nerves as a result of increased intracranial pressure. And so they've seen that in some astronauts coming back from long periods of time in space, is that their optic nerves are a little bit swollen. And because you don't have gravity pulling the fluid down, pulling the blood down, then everything's just going to be a little bit more congested. Now, I don't think we have a lot of evidence to suggest that it's bad enough that it's causing permanent damage to the optic nerve, but it is notable that there is congestion there, because if you already have small optic nerves and then you start increasing the congestion and pressure inside the tissue of the optic nerve, could you get an ischemic optic neuropathy? Could it cause enough pressure on the blood vessels that supply the optic nerve that it kind of closes them off? Maybe. I guess we don't know. But I mean, it's never a good thing to have optic disc edema. But I don't think we have a good evidence to suggest that it's at least in a microgravity environment that it causes any permanent vision loss. But other issues that you see are globe flattening. So people can actually have a change in their refractive error. So if you flatten the eye, and a lot of this is probably the same mechanism, right? You don't have gravity that's pulling everything down. So you have more congestion in the vasculature, in the space around the orbit. and it can kind of push on the eyeball a little bit, flatten it, just kind of constrict the eye a little bit. If you flatten the eye, that's basically what you're doing with LASIK for nearsightedness. So if you're nearsighted, you'll become a little bit less nearsighted. If you have perfect vision, all of a sudden you'll become a little bit farsighted. Let's say you're a 30-year-old in space. You have perfect vision. Well, all of a sudden you might start needing reading glasses because your eyeball is getting flatter. When we do LASIK, what we're doing is we're creating a flap for people who are nearsighted, and we're just flattening the cornea. And that will take away the myopia. That moves the focal length from in front of the retina back onto the retina. Or for people who are of perfect vision, flattening the eye will take the focal point from the retina to all of a sudden behind the eye. And then you have to try to focus, strain your eyes. People who have presbyopia, who need reading glasses, they've been dealing with this. So anyway, that's one of the effects that we've seen. And there's, other structural changes in the brain and I got this all from, NASA and certain research studies that have been done. They've seen a shifting in the position of the brain in astronauts, enlargement of the ventricular volume, which also would, be because you have this increased pressure. Changes in the pituitary gland, and that can also cause changes in your vision, your peripheral vision. Bitemporal hemianopia. You're starting to lose some of the vision out peripherally. That can happen if you have any pressure on the pituitary gland, because that's where your optic chiasm is. So yes, there are certain things I've not heard, and everybody can correct me if I'm wrong in any of this. But from what I've read and what I've learned, there's no like immediate risk. And we've had of blindness or vision loss, and we've had astronauts be up in space for 6 months, a year, maybe even, more than that, a couple of years. And we haven't seen any major issues. Now, what about when you start talking, sending people to Mars? Elon's going to have to get on this, figure out what to do. Maybe some special glasses that kind of help redirect the pressure, decrease the pressure around the optic nerve in the back of the eye. I don't know how people are smarter people than me are going to have to figure this out. Is it possible to prevent quote unquote space blindness? There are certain strategies to try to reduce this space flight associated neuroocular syndrome. So again, these very smart people, they're trying to use like specialized diets, exercises, sleep. I don't think any of this has really, come about to actually do anything for the eyes. But the point is, people are working on it. So at Save the Peace Now, thank you for your comment. People are working on it, which is I love that. I love that it's a thought that people are having, like, oh wait, we've all heard about space madness, like that's always featured in like sci-fi movies. I've never seen space blindness be featured in a sci-fi movie. Just saying, like Hollywood, come on, let's get some ophthalmology representation going here. Anyway, that's space blindness. All right, let's take a break. All right, couple more questions that I got, or more like comments. This one made me laugh, from at MGJS8BN. I don't know if I want to know more about what can go wrong with your freaking eyeballs. Fair. I don't want this podcast to scare anybody. I'm somewhat of a protector of eyeballs, so yes, I will tell you in the course of this podcast all the things that can go wrong with your eyes, but I'll make them better. I don't want you to go blind. And most of the really terrible things are pretty rare too. So, I think you'll be fine. All right. And the final question that I wanted to get to before the end of the episode here is at Mitchell Christensen 5783 said, your remarks about not being able to reverse dilation made me think about Vuity and Culosi, which is, they're both types of pilocarpine. Pilocarpine is a sympathomimetic that helps to constrict the pupil, but also it promotes accommodation, which allows you to focus up close. So when we dilate someone's eyes, we're taking away both of those things. We're taking away your ability to focus up close. We're taking away your pupil's ability to constrict. So you'll have a dilated pupil and you can't read. That's the, I always feel it's kind of secretly kind of funny whenever like teenagers will come in and they'll get their like first eye exam and all of a sudden they can't look at their phone anymore. And it's temporary. It's like 3 hours, right? But you can, it's like they have no idea what to do with their life all of a sudden. Like it's like a whole new world. It's the worst thing I think that's happened to some of these people based on how they describe their experience. But anyway, it's temporary. It's temporary. So anyway, I talked about this reversing dilation because one of my go-to jokey lines I have with patients is like, if I could figure out a way to effectively reverse your dilation, I wouldn't be working anymore. I'd be on my own island somewhere, making with all my props, making island-related Glaucom Fleck and General Hospital videos. So no, that doesn't exist. And then this comment goes on. I don't know if you've already made an episode about them, but I'd be interested. Obviously, the mechanism of those drops could theoretically reverse dilation, but they don't work in dilated eyes. So basically asking about, is there really an option? So I actually did some research on this. And there have been a couple of studies over the years, not many, that have looked at using pilocarpine as a way to reverse dilation. And bottom line is, it's not effective. Not only that, but it also increases some risk. Is one of the risk factors with one of the risks of pilocarpine is that in people who are nearsighted, it can actually cause retinal tears or retinal detachments. And that's obviously not what we want. So to mitigate those risks, we're just not going to do it, right? Because although dilation is annoying, it will eventually wear off. It may take 2 to 4 hours, sometimes 6 hours, sometimes 8 hours for certain people. It will wear off. And so, no, unfortunately, the studies show that even using pilocarpine in patients with a tropicamide dilation, which is what we normally do, it's not effective at reducing the time of dilation. And it's probably just because it's just not strong enough. When we're in the operating room, we will inject straight acetylcholine into the eye not acetylcholine, epinephrine. Acetylcholine would be the opposite. We will inject epinephrine into the eye. That will very rapidly constrict the pupil, but that's like in the eye. We are bathing the iris in adrenaline and causing it to. I got that backwards. See, it's okay. No, I had it right the other way around. It is acetylcholine. Myocol. That's what it's called. Acetylcholine. We will inject it. We'll bathe the iris in acetylcholine, causing it to constrict. Epinephrine would do the opposite. Fight or flight, right? Get big dilated pupil. Anyway, all right. I'm glad we cleared that up. I should probably be wrapping this up by now. I did promise you a few thoughts about ocular rosacea. Ocular rosacea is a disease associated obviously with regular like skin rosacea. So that's like it's a chronic skin disease where you get really red, rosy cheeks, nose, sometimes the forehead. You can have that disease, which by the way, I don't know if we have a really good idea of what causes rosacea. Maybe there's a genetic component to it, probably some environmental factors, something that causes dilation and swelling of blood vessels that causes you to look really red and have flushed cheeks and these big dilated vessels on the nose and on the cheeks. Some people think it's related to certain microorganisms that cause this dilated redness to the face. But what we do know is that this skin disease called rosacea can also affect the eye with a similar mechanism. And so what will happen is patients will come in with pretty severe redness, and often they'll have blood vessels that are starting to grow onto the cornea. And sometimes you can get infiltrates get a little corneal infection just along the edge of the cornea. It's called a limbal infiltrate. And kind of a classic appearance of someone that has ocular rosacea. And it feels, what are the symptoms like? Well, burning, red, watery eyes. People feel like they have something stuck in their eyes. They got redness. They're just really uncomfortable. Oftentimes, severe styes. If you get a lot of styes, you might have some ocular rosacea. And so that goes along with this as well, because along with inflammation on the surface of the eye, you get a lot of inflammation on the eyelids, because it's a skin disease. It's a surface disease. And that can really make your meibomian glands unhappy. And you end up with styes because those meibomian glands get thick and plugged up. So the way we treat this is hot compresses to try to make those glands happy or try to open up those glands. Usually I'll prescribe an eye drop that has a little bit of steroid and an antibiotic combination, like Tobradex, which is tobramycin, dexamethasone, or Maxitrol, which also has dexamethasone, as well as neomycin, polymyxin B. And so I'll do that. I'll do eye drops, maybe even ointment to the eye, because that lasts a little bit longer, even though it really blurs up the vision. So people don't really like ointment as much. And then also you can prescribe a course of doxycycline. My infectious disease colleagues, they love themselves doxycycline. It's a great antibiotic. Don't take it on an empty stomach. Don't take it with dairy because it reduces the effectiveness. But it's a great medication, can make you a little light sensitive as well. So you want to wear a hat, protect yourselves if you're in a sunny environment, which is not where I live right now. I'm looking outside. It is snowing in Portland, Oregon, everybody. People are about to lose their minds. Anyway, doxycycline, 2-week course, that can help decrease the rosacea. So that's the typical treatment for this. Gets better, but you can have flares throughout the year. There are certain causes of flare-ups that we know. Just being outside in the heat, sun, wind, cold, that can give you a flare of ocular rosacea or just regular rosacea. Some people get it when they're really active, doing a lot of aerobic activity. Drinking alcohol can flare it up for people. Sometimes eating spicy foods, drinking coffee or tea. I don't know if the caffeine has something to do with it, or just getting stressed. We're all kind of stressed. So you're more prone to get an ocular rosacea if you're prone to it. So anyway, that's the basic rundown of ocular rosacea. I'll stop there. I think you've had enough eyeball stuff for the day. Thank you all for listening. Again, I'm your host, Will Flannery, also known as Dr. Glockenflecken. And thanks to our producers, Aaron Cordy, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brick. Editor, engineer, Jason Portizo. Our music is by Omer Benzvig. And once again, YouTube channel at Glockenfleckens. All the podcast episodes are posted there. Knock, knock, I, knock, knock, hi. I always read those comments. I'll pick the best ones, the ones that I think we haven't covered any topics in a while. And, you guys always give me good ideas. I love it. I love reading those. So leave your comments there, listen to the podcast, like the YouTube channel, leave a comment. We love comments, feedback. Give us some good reviews if you feel so inclined. All right. I would really appreciate that. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Knock Knock Hi is a human content production. See you next time, everyone.
Knock, knock, goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts, or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.